Elias Rowe wasn't a hero. He didn't wear shiny armor or carry any kind of weapon. He was a systems engineer, one of the many humans working behind the scenes on the Unity Ark, the largest diplomatic spaceship ever built, floating quietly. In neutral space, the Unity Ark was where powerful leaders from many alien species met to avoid war and find peace. Elias spent most of his time fixing broken wires, cleaning out old ports, and drinking too much coffee from the vending machine. On Deck 9, he was good at his job, and he liked staying away from important things. Until one afternoon, everything changed. It started like a normal shift. Elias received a system alert about a faulty translator node near the diplomatic wing on Deck 3. It wasn't a big problem. Just one of those minor glitches that made aliens hear weird translations or get their names swapped. He packed his tools and took the lift. He didn't realize he had left his comfort zone far behind. Deck 3 was quiet, clean, and way too polished. Unlike the noisy engineering decks, this place smelled like fresh air and had soft golden lights. Tall alien guards stood near doorways, their weapons deactivated but ready. The walls were lined with banners from dozens of civilizations, Xyrelium, the Collective, Ilari, and of course Earth. Elias walked quickly, head down, the translator. Node was just around the corner near Chamber C. Then it happened. Turning the corner too fast, he collided with someone hard. He dropped his toolkit. Tools clattered all over the floor. "Whoa, sorry," he said quickly, looking up. And there she was. She was tall, elegant, and clearly not human. Her skin was a smooth bronze hue, glowing gently under the corridor. Lights. Her eyes were shaped like a cat's but made of shimmering crystal. Her long crimson robes floated around her, and a thin golden circlet sat upon her forehead. Her expression was unreadable, somewhere between disgust and curiosity. Elias blinked. His brain froze. Then, in the most stupid move of his life, he chuckled nervously and said, "Hey, beauty queen." A silence fell, her eyes narrowed. Her voice was cold, perfectly clear in English, without the help of a translator. "Watch your mouth, human." Elias felt his stomach drop. His heart thumped. Like a drum? He had just insulted, no, disrespected an alien royal. She stepped forward, looking down at him with slow grace. The hallway was still empty except for them. "Do you know who I am?" she asked sharply. Elias swallowed. No? "I am Varel of the House of Sorel, first daughter of the Xyrelium Crown, High Envoy to this station." He just blinked. Oh. An hour later, Elias sat nervously in a quiet room in the Human Relations office. Rubbing his face, across from him, a short man in a neat black suit looked over a tablet. "You called the Xyrelium Crown Princess a beauty queen." To her face, Elias sighed. "I didn't know who she was. I just bumped into her and panicked." The man, Mr. Langston, looked tired. "Do you have any idea how delicate things are right now between Earth and the Xyrelium Empire?" Elias looked down. "So I'm fired?" Langston sighed. "No." She didn't press for punishment, but she demanded something else. Elias looked up. "What?" Langston cleared his throat. "You're being placed in a cultural reconciliation program. Starting tomorrow, you'll attend daily sessions with the princess herself. You'll learn about Xyrelium customs, language, and etiquette. You'll serve as her assistant during her visit here." "What?" "That's insane. Not optional," Langston said flatly. "It's this or get shipped back to Earth with a black mark on your record." Elias groaned and leaned back in his chair. "This is going to be hell." The next day, Elias stood outside the peace chamber, trying not to sweat. His dark blue engineer's jumpsuit had been replaced with a clean, uncomfortable formal uniform. The doors opened. Princess Varel stood inside, her posture perfect. Her robes were different today, white with silver trim. She looked at him with the same cold gaze. "You're late," she said. Sorry. Got lost." She turned away. "Then your first lesson will be navigation." For the next hour, she walked him through the diplomatic wing, pointing out artifacts, names, alien languages, and rules. She spoke slowly but never repeated herself. Elias struggled to remember everything. At one point, he dared to ask, "Why are you doing this?" She stopped and faced him. because peace is fragile, and humans are careless. If I can correct one of you, it might prevent 1,000 future insults. Elias frowned. I didn't mean to offend you. I believe you. But meaning nothing is not enough when you represent your kind. That stung. But Elias nodded. Their sessions continued the next day and the next. Slowly, things changed. They moved from rules to stories. Varel told him about her homeworld Zyril, a planet of floating mountains and glowing seas. She explained how royal children were trained from birth, and how emotions were considered signs of weakness in their courts. Elias, in return, shared things about earth music, comedy, awkward school dances, and late-night movies. She didn't always understand, but she listened. Sometimes they argued. Sometimes she rolled her eyes at his jokes. But sometimes she smiled. One afternoon, while explaining the Xerillium concept of honor through humility, Varel asked, "Do humans ever feel shame when they laugh at the wrong time?" "All the time," Elias replied. "It's called being socially awkward." She raised an eyebrow. "You wear it like a badge? Better than hiding it?" She didn't answer, but he caught her watching him as they walked. A week later, something strange happened. A loud alarm rang out as they passed through a maintenance sector on their way to a shared seminar. "System failure in Corridor 4C, structural collapse imminent," a voice called over the intercom. Elias grabbed Varel's arm. "This way!" "But my guards, they won't reach you in time." Without thinking, he pulled her down a side hall as the ceiling behind them began to crack. Sparks flew. Pipes burst. A heavy beam crashed down where Varel had stood seconds ago. Elias and Varel ducked into a side control room. The lights flickered. Her eyes wide, Varel looked at Elias, really looked at him. You risked your life." He shrugged, breathing hard. "Wouldn't look great if I let you get squashed, huh?" For the first time, she laughed. It was a short, quiet sound, but it was real. And Elias felt his heart skip again. Later that night, alone in his quarters, Elias stared at the ceiling. He was in trouble, not because of the collapse. They'd already fixed the damage. The cause was still unknown, but it looked like a tech glitch. No, Elias was in trouble, because he couldn't stop thinking about her. She wasn't just beautiful. She was brilliant, confident, kind underneath that cool mask. And he had seen that part of her, but she was a princess. An alien one, and he was just a guy who fixed wires. This couldn't go anywhere, right? And yet every time she said his name with that smooth, proud voice, it made him feel different. More. The next day, Varel surprised him. She handed him a silver pin shaped like a spiral. "It's a Xerillium learning token," she said. "Only given to students who show growth." Elias stared at it. "Are you proud of me?" "I'm impressed," she said softly. "That is not something I say often," he tried to joke. "So I can call you Beauty Queen now?" She looked him dead in the eyes. "If you do, I might throw you out the airlock." He laughed nervously, but she was smiling again, and Elias knew this wasn't hell after all. It was just the beginning. The next morning, Elias stood in front of the mirror, trying to fix the strange silver collar that was now part of his formal uniform. It was itchy, too tight, and looked like something from a costume drama. Still, he had no choice. Princess Varel had sent it to him herself. "You must wear this during cultural exchange," she had said the day before, handing it over without asking. "It represents your position as my assigned partner." He had tried to argue. "You know, this makes me look like a space butler, right?" She didn't laugh. "Be thankful. On my world, servants wear collars of wood." Now, as he adjusted it again in the mirror, Elias sighed. "I'm just a systems guy," he muttered. "How did I become the royal assistant of an alien princess?" The session that day was held inside a special chamber on Deck 5 called the Hall of Perspectives. The room was circular, with large walls made of glass that showed stars moving slowly beyond. In the center, a flat table was covered with glowing symbols, from both human and Xerillium language. "Today, we will begin with cultural drills," Varel said. She wore a deep blue robe, decorated with patterns shaped like waves. "We will learn to understand one another through our differences." Elias sat down, already tired. Can't we just talk about your favorite alien movies or something? She looked at him. My people do not waste time with fiction. He smiled. You'd love Earth then. We waste time like it's a sport. Varel didn't smile back. Begin by repeating the Zarilium greeting of respect. Elias tried. Nestarviron? Ciara? She blinked. That means your bread smells of poison. Try again, he groaned. I'm gonna die before I get this right. You'll die if you say that in front of the Elder Council, she warned. Their training continued for hours. Elias struggled with the Zarilium bow too low, and it meant I surrender. Too short, and it meant you smell bad. Then came table manners. Apparently using the left hand during a royal meal meant you were challenging the host to a duel. Elias wrote that down 3 times. I don't know how you remember all this, he said, finally resting his head on the table. It is taught since childhood, Varel replied. Every motion, every word must be perfect. He looked up at her. Sounds exhausting, she tilted her head. Perfection brings safety, especially for someone in my position. For the first time, Elias saw a small crack in her royal shell. Her voice was softer. Her eyes, usually so cold, seemed tired. You okay? He asked. I'm always okay, she said simply. That is how I was raised. He sat up. Sounds lonely. She didn't reply. Later that evening, they walked together down the glass corridor of the Unity Arc. Below them, through the transparent floor, stars moved slowly like glitter in the dark. Let me ask you something, Elias. Said, do you ever have fun? Varel glanced at him. What do you mean? Laugh, play games, do something silly? I do not play, she said. That is for children. That's sad. She looked at him sharply. Why? Because life's too short not to enjoy it. Life is not short for my kind, she said. We live twice as long as humans. That makes it even worse, he replied. Imagine spending 200 years without laughing. Varel was quiet. Then she asked, what is something you do for fun? He thought for a moment. Watch. Movies, Earth films, especially old ones. There's one where a man pretends to be a nanny to see his kids. That sounds ridiculous. It is, he grinned. It's great. Show me, Elias blinked. What? You said it brings joy. Show me, he scratched his head. All right. But don't blame me if you end up laughing. The next night, Elias arranged a small private screening in a side room. A screen lit up. The movie began. Varel sat stiffly at first, arms crossed. But after 10 minutes, her eyes widened. Then her mouth twitched. Then quietly she chuckled. You laughed, Elias whispered. I did not. You did. She raised her chin. It was a reaction. He smiled. That's what laughter is. She watched the rest of the film without another word, but when it ended she said, that was strange but enjoyable. Elias nodded. Told you. I wish to watch another, she said. He grinned. You got it. The next few days, their training became more relaxed. Varel started asking questions about human culture, music, art, sarcasm. What is sarcasm? She asked during one lesson. It's when you say something but you mean the opposite, Elias explained. She looked confused. That seems inefficient. It's fun, he said. Watch, I'll show you. He picked up a datapad and held it out. Oh great, another technical report. I'm so excited. She blinked. You sound excited. No, that's sarcasm, she tried. This lesson is very enjoyable, Elias laughed. You nailed it. Her lips curved just slightly one afternoon. Varel invited Elias to the observation garden, a high-ceilinged dome filled with alien plants from many worlds. Floating lights moved between branches like fireflies. A gentle stream flowed through the center. This is where I come to think, she said. They sat by the water. May I ask you something? She said, sure. Why do you hide behind jokes? Elias looked at the water. Because being serious all the time is heavy. Jokes make things lighter. But your smile is not always real. He sighed. No, it's not. You are afraid, he shrugged. Aren't you? Varel didn't answer. Instead, she placed one hand gently over his. It was cool, elegant. I Have never shared this space with anyone, she whispered. Elias's heart beat faster. I'm honored. They sat in silence for a long time, but not everything was peaceful. That evening, after Elias returned to his quarters, his datapad beeped with a message. From unknown, you've forgotten your place, human. Stay away from the princess or face the consequences. His stomach dropped. He stared at the message for a long time. Was this a joke? A warning? A threat? He didn't know. But one thing was clear. Someone didn't like how close he and Varel were becoming. The next day, Elias tried to act normal. But he couldn't stop thinking about the message, Varel noticed. You are distracted. I didn't sleep well. Bad dream? Something like that. She studied him. You are not telling me everything. I don't want to cause problems, her voice sharpened. We are past that. Speak, he hesitated. Then showed her the message. Varel read it, eyes narrowing. This is written in Xyrillium dialect, a noble tongue. Elias blinked. Wait, you mean someone from your people sent this? She nodded. Likely someone who disapproves of our ... connection. Elias frowned. I'm just a human engineer. To you, she said. But to others you're a symbol. He looked down. I don't want to make things worse for you. Varel touched his arm. You have not made things worse. You've made them ... interesting. That night, Varel sat alone in her quarters, staring at the stars outside her window. She remembered Elias's laugh, his awkward smile, his warm eyes. She had met many humans before, but none like him. He didn't bow. He didn't try to impress her. He just was, and somehow that made him different, special, but the message worried her. The Xyrillium court was proud and strict. If someone thought her friendship with a human was dishonorable ... she closed her eyes. For once, she didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, Elias stared at the same stars. Lying on his bunk, he knew now that things were complicated, but the thought of staying away from Varel felt worse than the danger. Maybe it was foolish. Maybe he was reading too much into it. But when she looked at him, he felt seen. And he couldn't walk away from that. Not now. Elias woke up the next morning with a heavy feeling in his chest. The message from the night before still haunted him. He didn't know who sent it, but he knew what it meant. Someone powerful didn't want him near Princess Varel. He had spent most of the night thinking about whether he should step back, say goodbye, and return to his old, quiet life in the systems bay. But when he thought about Varel, her curiosity, her rare smiles, the way her eyes sparkled when she finally understood. Sarcasm, he couldn't do it. He didn't want to walk away. The training hall, Elias arrived early. For once he was there before Varel. The circular room was quiet, filled only with soft humming from the lights above. He stood near the glass walls, looking at the endless stars. A moment later, the door opened. Varel entered, her silver hair tied back, her expression calm, but her eyes searched for him immediately. You came, she said. I wasn't going to, Elias admitted. But then I thought, what's the point of being alive if we don't take a risk once in a while? She looked at him closely. You're brave, human, he chuckled, or just stupid. A small smile touched her lips. Perhaps both. They continued their lessons, but the atmosphere had changed. Varel stood closer to him now. She looked into his eyes longer when he spoke. She even laughed more often, real laughter, not just polite smiles. When Elias tripped over a chair and almost fell face first during a bowing lesson, she laughed so hard she had to sit down. Okay, that one was your fault. He groaned. I warned you about foot placement, she teased. You know, you're kind of mean when you're comfortable, Elias said, and you're clumsy even when fully trained. She shot back, her green eyes twinkling. Later, in the ship's garden, Elias asked something that had been bothering him. Varel, why are you doing this? She tilted her head. Doing what? Spending time with me, laughing, sharing things. Isn't that dangerous for someone like you? She was silent for a while. Then she said, when I was a child, I used to sneak into the servants' quarters to listen to their stories. My mother found out and punished me. She said, a princess does not lower herself. That's harsh. She believed it. So did I until I met you. Elias looked at her. I'm not that special. You are honest, she replied. You challenge me? You make me feel free? He felt warmth rise in his chest. And you make me feel like I matter. The next few days were peaceful. Varel and Elias spent their time between lessons, laughter, and learning more about each other. Elias showed her Earth food, though the replicated pizza didn't impress her. This is flatbread with red paste and melted animal milk, she said. It's pizza, he said, chewing happily. It's sacred. She rolled her eyes. Humans are strange. And you're uptight, he shot back. She raised a brow. Excuse me? He grinned. That's sarcasm. Her lips twitched. Again, careful. I might start liking it. That night, Varel received a secret communication from her world. It was from Counselor Theron, a strict and proud noble of her home planet. Princess, rumors have reached the court. You're growing close to a human. This behavior must stop. You carry the honor of Xerilium. We expect your full loyalty. She stared at the message for a long time. Her hands shook slightly. They were watching her. They always were, but this time she didn't feel afraid. She felt angry. The next day she didn't tell Elias about the message. But he noticed something different. You're quiet today, he said as they walked down the Starbridge corridor. Do you think love is a weakness? She asked suddenly. He stopped walking. Where did that come from? Just answer. I think love is scary, but it's also strong. It makes you do things you'd never do otherwise. She nodded slowly. My people see it as a distraction. Then your people don't understand power, he said. She smiled faintly. I'm starting to believe that. Later that evening, they sat alone in the crystal room, watching a slow storm of colorful gas float outside the observation glass. I've never felt like this before, Varel said. Like what? Like I can be myself. With you, I don't have to act like a perfect princess. You're better when you don't act, Elias replied. You make me laugh. You make me angry. You confuse me. I'm good at all three. She turned to him, but most of all, you make me feel alive. His heart jumped. He looked into her eyes. She leaned closer, then the door burst open. 2 tall Xerilium guards stepped in. Behind them stood Counselor Theron, tall and pale, wearing golden robes. Princess Varel, he said coldly, your behavior has gone too far. The moment shattered like glass. Varel stood up immediately, her posture straight and formal. Counselor Theron, she said, her voice tight. This is not your place. This entire ship is watched by the council, he replied, and you have brought shame to your name. Elias stepped forward. Hey, I haven't done anything wrong, Theron turned to him. You, human, you were warned. You sent the message? Elias asked. Yes, and still you dared. Varel stepped between them. Enough. Princess, Theron said. You must return to your quarters immediately. This relationship ends now. She looked at Elias, her jaw clenched. No. Theron blinked. What? I said no, she repeated. I will not be treated like a child. I will not be ordered. You will obey your bloodline. I am my bloodline, she said, and I choose who I am close to. Elias stared in shock. This was the first time he saw her truly angry. But it wasn't the cold anger from there. First meeting. This was fiery, passionate, brave. Theron narrowed his eyes. Then you have made your choice. You will face the council when we return. I will, she said calmly, and I will speak as myself, not as a puppet. The guards stepped back. Theron left in silence, but his look said everything. This wasn't over when the door closed. Varel let out a long breath. You didn't have to do that, Elias said softly. Yes, I did. It's going to cause problems. I know, he looked at her. Was it worth it? She looked into his eyes. You were. They stood there for a while, the silence growing heavy but not uncomfortable. Then Elias whispered, Do I call you Beauty Queen now? Or is that still a bad idea? She laughed. Still dangerous. But worth the risk? She leaned in closer. Maybe. Their faces were inches apart. Then finally, Varel touched her forehead gently to his Xerilium gesture of closeness. Wasn't a kiss, but it meant more. The next day, things changed. The crew was buzzing. Everyone had seen what happened. Some whispered support. Others looked angry. But no one ignored it. Elias was now more than just an assistant. He was part of a story bigger than himself, and Varel? She wasn't just a princess anymore. She was a rebel, a leader, and maybe someone in love, but trouble was still coming, far away, deep in the chambers of the Xerilium High Council. Counselor Theron prepared for a trial. The princess would be judged, and the human would be blamed, unless they could change everything, together. The Xerilium Council ship Elindra arrived in orbit 3 days later. It was a massive, silver vessel that blocked out half the stars from the training station's windows. With sharp edges and glowing blue engines, it looked more like a weapon than a ship of peace. Elias stared at it from the observation deck, arms folded tightly across his chest. Behind him, the crew moved nervously, whispering about the trial and what it meant for Princess Varel. She would be judged. And not just by her people, but by tradition, by power, and by the laws of an empire that feared change. And it all started with a simple sentence. "Hey, beauty queen." Varel was silent as she prepared. She stood in front of her tall mirror, dressing in the formal silver robes of her house. They shimmered softly, like moonlight on still water. Her face was calm, but her heart was not. Today, she would face her people, not as a royal puppet, but as herself. Elias entered quietly, holding a data pad. "You look like someone who's about to fight a dragon," he said. She turned. "I might be." He held out the pad. "I've written something. You don't have to read it. Just take it in case." She took it with both hands, gently. "Thank you." Elias started to walk away, but stopped at the door. "I don't know what they'll say," he said, "but I'm here." "I'm not going anywhere," she smiled. "Good." The trial was held in the council dome aboard Ili-ND-R. It was a cold, glowing room with long crystal tables and floating screens that displayed each speaker's face. The council sat in a wide half-circle, robes shining, voices low. Behind them sat nobles, guards, and a few members of the royal court. Varel stood alone in the center. Until the doors opened and Elias walked in. Gasps filled the room. "A human?" One counselor spat. "He dares step into a royal proceeding?" Varel raised her voice, firm and steady. "He comes at my request." Theron stood, robes flowing like smoke. "Princess, you stand here accused of disloyalty to your role, your crown, and your future. You were raised to protect the purity of Xerilium. Instead, you mock it with your attachments." Varel didn't flinch. "I have not mocked anything. I've only seen the truth, that we're afraid of change. Change brings weakness." A noblewoman shouted. "No," Varel replied. "Change brings understanding." Theron gestured, and the screens lit up. Clips played. Footage of Varel laughing with Elias in the training hall, sitting with him in the garden, walking close. In the corridors, they were watched more than they had known. "You've made a fool of your bloodline," Theron hissed. "For what? Human attention?" Varel's jaw tightened. "For connection." Theron's eyes turned to Elias. "And you, human? What are you to her? A game? A distraction? A tool?" Elias looked around, then stepped forward. He didn't speak with royal words. "Just truth. I didn't ask for this. I didn't try to change her. She changed me. She showed me a part of the galaxy I thought would never care about someone like me. And if that's wrong, then maybe your laws are wrong." The chamber burst into angry voices. Some shouted for silence. Others yelled for punishment. Varel raised her hand. "Let me speak," she said. She turned slowly, looking at every face. "I am Varel of the House of Silver Flame, first daughter of Queen Maelra. I was raised to obey, to bow, to follow." She paused. "But I am not a shadow. I am not a crown. I am a person." The room was quiet now. "I learned something important from this human," she continued. "That truth is not weakness. That emotion is not shame. And that loyalty doesn't mean silence. I am loyal to my people. That's why I must speak for them, not just repeat their rules." Theron stepped forward, furious. "Then you reject your role?" No, she said calmly. I claim it. In my way. Outside the dome, on every deck of the ship and station, Xerilium citizens watched the live trial. It was broadcast by the ship's network. A new law made trials public. To avoid secret punishment, they watched Elias, the human who joked and tripped and laughed. They watched Varel, the cold princess who now burned with courage, and many of them began to wonder, what if change wasn't death? What if it was rebirth? The council whispered, debated, argued. Then finally, Theron stood. Once more. Very well, he said. You wish to speak freely, then let the stars judge you. He raised a hand. By the authority of the High Xerilium Council, we call for a binding memory trial, the echo of truth. Varel gasped. No, Elias frowned. What's that? She whispered, it's a test. It opens your mind. Your real thoughts are shown, every memory, every feeling. It's dangerous. Theron smiled. Unless you have something to hide. Varel turned to Elias. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, he said. Not just for you, for both of us. He stepped forward and she followed. They entered the glowing circle together. The dome darkened. Lights swirled. The echo began. Memories burst into the air around them like living stars. Varel as a child, crying alone after her mother scolded her. Elias on Earth, sitting in a tiny apartment, holding a picture of his late mother. Varel's first laugh with Elias's pounding heart the first time she touched his shoulder. 1,000 moments, honest and raw, played in the air. No lies. No masks. Just truth. The council watched in silence. Some faces were angry, but others softened. One counselor, Elder Velen, leaned forward. They care for each other. It's just weakness, Theron snapped. No, the elder said. It's strength, real strength. The memories ended. The chamber was silent. Again. Then Elder Velen stood. I vote for freedom of choice. Another counselor nodded. Let her speak for her future. One by one the council voted. Theron, face pale with fury, was the last. He paused, then said coldly, I oppose. But he was outvoted. The council's decision was clear. Princess Varel may choose her own future. After the trial, Varel and Elias stood alone in the garden. It was quiet now. They didn't punish us, he said. No, she said. They listened. Because of you. No, Elias, she whispered. Because of us? He looked at her, still stunned. So, what happens now? She took his hand. Now, we build something better. He laughed. Together? She smiled, always. The stars shone above. And for the first time, both human and alien stood, equal beneath them, not as ruler and subject, not as enemy and ally, but as two people, who believed in something stronger than fear. Hope. Weeks had passed since the trial. The stars hadn't changed, but the people had. Across Xerilium space, whispers of Princess Varel's stand grew louder. The video of the trial had spread first in quiet data loops, then through public channels. People saw a princess refusing to be controlled. They saw a human standing beside her, honest and unafraid. For some, it brought hope. For others, it brought anger. But no one could ignore it anymore. On the Xerilian royal planet, the capital was preparing for an event no one expected. The Unity Forum. For the first time in Xerilium history, leaders from alien worlds were invited to speak as equals, including Earth. Varel had pushed for it. Elias was asked to help organize it, and both of them knew it was more than a meeting. It was a chance to rewrite the story of their people. Elias stood in the giant marble hall, staring up at the glowing banners. The high ceiling looked like the night sky. Colored lights danced across polished floors. He wore a formal outfit designed by Xerilium tailors, a sleek navy robe with silver trim. He tugged at the collar awkwardly. I feel like a fancy burrito, he muttered. A voice behind him said, I think you look noble. He turned. Varel walked toward him slowly, dressed in a long white gown that shimmered with every step. Her crown was smaller, now less sharp, more elegant. She no longer needed it to show her strength. She smiled at him. Elias forgot to breathe for a second. You look, he began. Yes? She teased, like I'm about to forget my own name. She laughed gently, still bad with words. Only when I'm nervous, Then be brave again, she said softly. Like you were for me. The hall filled quickly with leaders from over 20 worlds. Humans, Aurelians, and other species sat together, talking, watching Dot at the center. The platform was raised. Varel stepped onto it, the crowd quieting. She looked across the room. Her voice, calm but clear, echoed through the space. Some of you knew me as a symbol. Others feared I would break tradition. And maybe I did. But sometimes things must break before they can be rebuilt. She glanced at Elias in the crowd. I did not lose myself, I found it, in conversation. In challenge, in kindness. Fear has ruled us too long. It made us close doors. Build walls, punish emotion, but we are stronger than fear. She lifted her head proudly. From this moment forward, Xerilium will no longer stand above others. We will stand beside them. We offer peace, friendship, and a future shared. The crowd clapped, some with hesitation, many with honest joy. It had begun. That night, the halls were quiet again. Varel and Elias walked through the royal gardens, moonlight painting silver lines on the path. You were amazing up there. Elias said, I was terrified, she admitted. You didn't show it. That's the secret, she said. Be scared, but don't stop. He chuckled. Sounds like something you'd tell the next generation of rebels, she smiled. Maybe I will. They stopped near a quiet fountain. She turned to him. Elias, when I first met you, I thought you were annoying. You made that very clear, but now, I don't want to imagine life without you. He looked at her. I came here thinking I was just an assistant. Now I feel like I'm part of something so much bigger. You are, she said. You always were. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a metal ring, shaped like two intertwined stars. I made this, he said. Took me weeks, melted scrap from the training ship. She held it in her palm. It's not much, he added. But I thought, maybe you'd want it? She looked up, eyes shining. I do. I mean, it's not like a proposal or, she interrupted him by taking his hand and slipping the ring on her own finger. I do, she said again, softly. And for the first time she kissed him. It wasn't like the movies, no music. Number. Bright lights. Just two people, two worlds. And one moment that felt like forever, but not everything was perfect. Some in the Empire were still angry. Theron had not vanished, he simply went quiet. Gathering those who still believed in the old ways. There would be resistance, there would be struggles, but Varel and Elias were ready. They had each other. 1 year later, Elias stood on a small platform in front of a group of young students, Xerilium, human, and other species. He had become a teacher, a voice for unity. And he told them a story. Once, I called a princess beauty queen by accident. She almost killed me with her eyes, but that day something started. Not just between us but across stars. The students laughed. Now she's helping build a new world, and somehow I get to help too. He smiled. Words are powerful, he said. So use them to open doors, not close them? Later that evening he returned home to the royal residence, now less royal, more like a shared space of ideas and leaders. Varel waited at the balcony, staring up at the sky. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. Want to hear something funny? He whispered. Double quotes always. I used to think the stars were cold, just dots in the dark. And now? He kissed her hair. Now I think they're warm. From enemies to allies. From strangers to soulmates. They had changed a world, and they were just getting started. Together. Forever. Under the stars.